Everywhere I go, people stopping. 3, 2, 1, go on and lose your minds. Woo! Go on and lose it.
Welcome back, everyone, to the TBD Talks podcast. Today, with me, I have Nathan.
Hey, guys.
And I have Elliot.
Yes.
How are you? You good?
Mm-hmm, fine.
Good.
Wow.
Elliot's good.
Elliot's good. He's so good.
Our topic today is it okay to be an asshole?
Which I've said about 3 times now. Yes.
Yes. Elliot says yes.
Emphatically yes.
When it comes down to being an asshole, we want to try to find the line. When are you not just being assertive, not just standing up for yourself, not just pointing out something that no one else would? When do you go from being a person who is confident enough to actually say what needs to be said, and when do you become the asshole?
Well, it's all kind of subjective, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, like, here's the thing is, like, I remember that guy who went to Jamba Juice, right? And we'll just put that aside. He went to Jamba Juice. And he told the people who worked there, his daughter, son, whoever it was, his offspring, his brood, had a cinnamon allergy. So he said, don't you put no cinnamon in that drink. And they did. And then he got mad about it because they did, because these are like minimum wage employees who don't give a shit. And my whole thing is like, you respect those people. You respect the minimum wage employees because they're the backbone on which the economy turns. However, sometimes you get people who legitimately just do not care whatsoever, and then they put cinnamon in his drink. This kid almost died. He had an anaphylactic reaction, and it was bad. Mm-hmm. And that is like, people are like, oh, he's being such a Karen. And I was like, no, this guy's having an anaphylactic reaction to something that you put in the drink that he told you not to. That's not being like a Karen. That's a legitimate reaction. Yeah, that's perfectly justified, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I would be mad about it too.
I would agree. Yeah, no. I think another kind of good example of that, where you toe a line, is where it comes from, how you're doing it, the way you word things. So much of what you're doing and how it comes across is how you say it.
Yeah.
Like if you're like, hey, I think that guy was kind of rude, versus I think that guy was a total piece of shit, and he deserves to be fired.
So like, I've done research into this. As a writer, it's very difficult to impart certain things to the audience, right, who's reading. And what I came across was all the studies they've done, almost all of them, they say that when you're speaking, 3% of what you actually mean comes through in your diction. 97% of the information you're trying to impart comes through body language, tone, all that kind of stuff, which makes being a writer very difficult. Mm-hmm. And part of the balance that you have to strike when you're writing is that you have to trust that, like, you just have to accept that the audience is going to read it their own way, in a way, to an extent. Like, obviously you can put like different quantifiers. If you say like, oh, so-and-so shouted, or so-and-so snapped, or so-and-so whined, that'll give you an idea. But for the most part, they're still going to envision their own thing. Like, I mean, nobody's going to read the same dialogue and come away with the same vision in their head.
It's all up to interpretation.
Because so much of it is not what you say, but how you say it. And we've all been in those situations where somebody has said something where it was like, okay, the diction was okay, but the way that you said it was totally unacceptable to me.
Right.
100%.
So for the longest time, I lived my life constantly trying not to be an asshole, trying to just do whatever I could to make sure everyone around me always thought that I was like the nicest, goodest person ever, because I thought that was what was decent, that's what was right. Recently, as of like 3 to 4 years ago, I realized it's okay if a person's upset with what I have to say. Like, if I'm actually being honest and I have good intention and they may not like it, the person I'm talking to might not appreciate hearing what I have to say because I'm not agreeing with them. But as long as I'm still respectful, they can deal with it.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, like, honesty goes a lot further than deception. Like, if you find, in my experience, if you're straight with somebody, that means a whole lot more than if you're trying to, like, deceive them, you know?
Yeah.
And if you just say, hey, man, here's what I think. You may not want to hear it, but that is, like, the truth as I see it.
Yeah.
They may not agree with you. That's fine. But they will be much more inclined to still engage with you versus when you're like blowing smoke up their ass.
Right.
In that case, like they'll usually just be like, no, this guy's a liar. I think a lot of people have better inbuilt lie detectors than we think they do.
Mm-hmm. Well, like, it was one conversation with a friend that like made me realize, hold on a minute, my whole approach to everything isn't as good as I think it is. Because I thought, okay, I don't agree with any of these people. I'm just going to stay quiet and just nod and listen and be. I want to know more about what they're saying, but I absolutely don't agree. But then my friend's like, you should be honest with your friends. If they're your friends, you should actually like say what you think. And I'm like, no. I'm just, they're entitled to I'm not going to try to change their minds. I'm just me. He's like, you're missing out on so much out of these friendships, because if they're your true friend, you should be able to actually say, no, I don't agree with that. And I think this, and they should have the respect for you to have a discourse about it and your friends, so they don't care if you don't actually align with them.
But I would also say there is like a time and a place where it's like, you know, like me and my dad are a great example. Me and my dad, I love my dad. My dad's great. We fight like fucking cats and dogs, right? And the whole thing is like, and we will get on certain topics and we'll be like, you know what, we'll just agree to disagree. Like, I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change my mind. Like, we both said our piece. And we'll just move on to a different topic because, you know, he's a boomer. I am a dyed-in-the-wool millennial. We will not agree on certain things. We will not see eye to eye. And it doesn't mean that I hate the guy. Obviously, you know, dude's pulled my ass out of more fires than I can count. But at the same time, it's also like, I see what you're saying, and I agree with you. Like, you should be able to speak your piece. People should agree or disagree, and then we should just say, okay, you know what? You're not going to change my mind. I'm not going to change your mind. We can just agree to disagree. We can still be friends and walk away from this.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a good litmus test to the people that you surround yourself with. Yeah. Because I started changing my mind around my buddies, and then I started changing my mind around everybody, like even clients and stuff, and everything started to get better, right? Because, you know, we're running a marketing company. You can either like tell the person what they want to hear constantly and just try to dress it up as in this, and try to make everything happy all the time. Or you can be like, listen, this is the reality of the situation. This is what we're going to try to do. We want you to be happy, but you need to understand the bottom line.
Well,
and as soon as I started applying that to like dating and stuff, I started just telling, like, I guess instead, it's not like an asshole thing, but it's just honesty.
No, and like the thing is, there's a difference between like personal relations and professional, because professional is like they're paying you to tell them something. You will tell them like because they're paying you. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you what you want because you're giving me like, you know, X amount of money, and you know you're not paying me to blow smoke up your ass. And there are some people who want that, but those are the businesses that are not businesses for very long.
Fair.
Yeah. And there are other cases where it is like friends relationships where I feel like that honesty is necessary, because especially in a relationship, if you're just feigning a certain opinion to make that other person happy, you're not going to be able to keep that front up for long, and there will come a time where they will find you on a weak spot. And they will be able to tell that you were bullshitting them, and it will be bad.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, too, like, just being honest with them is great, or giving them, well, rather, staying ambiguous is great because you can toe this line, but they're kind of what you said, like, there will come a day where, you know, you just can't do it anymore because you're not putting your true self forward, and that is what needs to be what a relationship is built upon. Because if you don't have that, then, you know, it's going to fade away. And like you said, they're going to find out, they're going to see, well, there's that point that you didn't flesh out your plan. And it's all going to come crumbling down. And one of two things will happen. You're either going to have a come to Jesus moment where you're like, here's where I really am. I haven't agreed with you for years or however long, and it won't go forward. Or you can actually just be honest and start to build trust with that person and have a real relationship where things become honest and helpful and mutually beneficial for you both, or any parties involved.
Well, and that's where I say it's like a litmus test. So if I disagree with somebody respectfully and it becomes a huge deal where they don't want to be around me anymore because I disagreed, that's a huge, like, that's a really good thing, because now I know. And especially getting into relationships, I adopted, like, I tried it out with my friends, and then I adopted it like full-heartedly into relationships where what I thought, like my exact opinion on this situation, I said, because this early on with dating somebody, I wanted them to know where my perspective was, how I would deliver information when it was actually the way I wanted to, instead of dressing it all up early on. Because it's so easy to try to present yourself as this really like patient, kind person all the time, even if you are biting your tongue. If you set that precedent with people, especially in a relationship, then later they feel like you're an asshole when you try to be honest.
Well,
not even on top of that.
But I mean, like, the whole thing is, like, if you're just presenting a false version of yourself to get into their pants, that is a recipe for disaster. It will never work well.
Well, or even even in a non dating relationship situation, not being honest with that person and yourself in and of itself is kind of an asshole move, because you're kind of deceiving them.
Yeah.
You're giving them this false pretense of, this is who I am, this is what I am, but it's not the truth.
And here's the counterpart. Like, I've got friends across the political spectrum, right? Like, back at home, I've got friends that are on every stripe of the LGBT pride flag, and I'm okay with that.
All of them?
All of them, believe it or not.
Wow.
That's an impressive individual.
My whole thing is, like, they know where I stand, and I've told them as much, because I respect them as people, and I disagree with them in a lot of ways. But at the same time, I'm like, I will not be your friend. I will continue to be your friend. I'm not going to, like, shut you out of my life. I'm not going to, like, shun you. You're not a leper. You know, you're always welcome to come to me for help. I disagree with you, but that doesn't mean you can't live your life the way that you want to, because they're their own people. They got their own life to live. It's their agency ultimately. And I'm fine with that. You know, we can, even though I don't agree with them on some stuff, it doesn't matter. We can still be friends. We can still come together at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And my whole thing about that is, like, I don't think it's an asshole move to, like, bite your tongue about certain things, because, like I said, with these people, I don't agree with them on everything.
There's a difference between biting your tongue and saying something that could cause a lot of hardship in a relationship that has been built on honesty, and falsely advertising yourself as something that you're not. If you'd have said, oh yes, I do agree with everything you say and you do and how you're doing things, but you truly don't, that is the asshole move. Not necessarily like, you know, this guy's having a hard time, there's another time I could maybe bring this up and have it be better and more constructive, and we could build on this, as opposed to whatever inopportune moment that might be.
No, and I agree with that. Like, there's a time and a place for every conversation.
Absolutely.
Like, obviously, if somebody's going through, like, a hard breakup, that is not the time to tell them, I told you so.
Yeah.
That is the worst thing you could possibly say.
Right.
You let them write it out, you let them grieve, and then you say, well, you know, maybe I might have hinted that might have happened. And next time I tell you something, you might want to listen to me. Yeah. You know, you might want to take that into account.
Discernment's important.
No, and, like, that's the whole thing, is, like, that's the line, in my opinion, between being an asshole and being, like, legitimately a good friend, is because, like, I've told so many people, don't get married too early. You know, I think you guys don't know each other well enough. You're rushing headlong into this. And the whole thing is like I told them that in the right circumstances, right? Now, nobody's listened to me, and that's fine because that's their life to live. If they want to do it, and I told them that. I was like, if you do this and you go ahead with it, I'll still be your friend. I'll still be with you. You always have me behind your back. However, I don't think it was a good idea, and I respect you too much as a friend to not tell you that.
Well, and that's the other side of this too that I don't think we've really talked about is being an asshole is a two-sided thing. Where yes, if you're the one doing the assholish thing, there's things that maybe you can work on with that, but it is also on the party who is labeling you as such to identify, am I the problem in this, or am I too insecure to hear this
that criticism
and deal with that and just go, you know what, that guy's an asshole. He told me that, I'm doing the wrong thing. I'm in a bad relationship. I'm doing the wrong thing with my career. He's just an asshole. That's on that guy. Or that person. Like, to just own up to it and have some self-reflection and go, I made a bad call. Maybe they're right. I should maybe listen at least a little bit. I think if you can listen to all parties and take it with a grain of salt, you can grow so much as a person. Even if someone comes up to you and is like, you're a real piece of shit for XYZ thing, having the ability to go, I think that guy was like 95% wrong, but there's a little nugget of truth there that, I could use some improvement in this area. That's how you really see growth in a person.
So one of the things that my mom impressed on me, and she did this because she was a social studies teacher, and it was really interesting growing up because she got all these sorts of like pushback because as a social studies teacher, she'd take her kids to synagogues, Muslim mosques, Hindu temples, all this stuff to show them. Like, she would make friends with the clergy. I know that's not the right word for some of these people, but ultimately she would take her students to these different houses of worship, and she'd let them speak for themselves, right? Like, she'd let the imams speak about what Islam is to these children, or the synagogue, the rabbi would speak about what Judaism to the children who don't know. And this is lily white suburbs of Dallas, who these kids would never know this otherwise. And my mom got all this kind of pushback where parents were like, you're trying to indoctrinate my child. And it's like, no, she's just educating them on these other religions that they are going to have to live upon, like, up against. It's not converting them to Islam to go to an imam and say, what do you believe? Tell me. And just learning what they believe and then saying, like, I agree with it or disagree with it. And that's fine. Yeah. But she always had this, like, quote by Aristotle. I had to pull it up because I butcher it otherwise. But she said, she told me, and this is quoting Aristotle, and I always just inform my worldview in a way that almost nothing else has. It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is like, you can hear somebody tell you something. Like, you can go to a Muslim mosque and they can tell you everything they believe. And you can say, okay, that's fine. I understand that you believe that. I don't agree with you, but I'm also going to be like, you can believe that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not going to kill each other over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that was my whole perspective before. Like, before I became extra honest. It was every person I talked to, whether I agreed with them or not, I had this world view that there was something to be learned and there was some form of truth. There's a reason why they believe this.
Yes.
Even if I adamantly disagreed. And that's where it was confusing because I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong, just sitting and listening. I wasn't happy because I didn't get to, like, express. I didn't get to, like, get deep and connect with these friends. But I still really valued, like, hearing everybody out. Even if I thought, like, that this is insane, I'm like, the reaction to me was like, I want to talk to this person more. Because I'm very curious to know more about, like, why they think this and why I disagree so much. And that, I feel like that's the difference, because I don't know if you guys have ever heard of, like, the nice guy syndrome.
Yeah,
problem.
I'm aware of it.
So
call it Redditor syndrome, but
yeah,
something.
Well, I mean, there was an entire book called, like, Mr. Nice Guy or something that someone gave me near the end of my first divorce. Because I
You
was,
say first divorce. Let's just say your only divorce.
My only
We're manifesting it.
Your
We're
divorce.
manifesting.
my only divorce.
Your
The
only
other one
divorce.
wasn't
Exactly.
a divorce.
Thank
It's
you.
just like a 3 or 4 year long relationship that ended badly.
Exactly.
Felt like a
I'm just
marriage,
saying.
wasn't a marriage.
The words we use are
Yes.
very important.
Words
It's like
are
we were
important.
saying.
Very,
What you
very
say,
true.
what you
very,
say,
very true.
is important.
So during that divorce that I had that one time, somebody was consulting me and gave me a book because he pegged me as that, and he was right. And these people that fall into this category, they're driven by basically people's validation.
Yeah.
Like they don't have the personal self-confidence to just be like, I am great. They need people to appreciate them. So then they build their entire lives around what people think of them. They constantly try to do things. They try to be that guy that's always offering everything to everyone all the time.
Well,
they're depleting themselves, but in their mind they think that if I do all of these things for all these people, then they will have no reason to not like me, and I will be a good person in their view, and I will be a good
Well,
person.
There is a sorry.
Go,
one thing.
no, go ahead.
So,
go ahead. I got two things.
There was a thing my grandfather told me before he died that was, I was like 8 when he told me this, but I think it is such a great saying. He looked at me, and I was one of those kids who just like talked to hear my own voice.
what changed?
I believe
What
it.
changed?
I believe it.
Not much. But he told me, he's like, Nathan, it's better to be an idiot in the room with your mouth shut and no one know than to open your mouth and prove them right.
Yes. Hmm.
But
This is a great nugget of Jew wisdom, and I don't mean that like that is a Jewish saying.
He was Armenian, but the thing
Same
is, though,
thing. I've only heard that from Jews.
Okay, so the other side of that, though, is that you never stay silent forever. You can't, because ultimately you grow resentful of these people if you just can't talk to anyone, because you're like, oh, they just don't let me talk. They don't let me be myself. You need to, but choosing the words, having the information, and coming armed is such an important thing. Mm-hmm. And that's where I wouldn't say that, the time that you spent sitting back and listening to find out why they thought that was necessarily a bad thing. It was more so just, like you said, having the confidence to go, now's the time. Mm-hmm. This is something that will help push the conversation without making it worse. And having the self-restraint to do that, I think, is a thing that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah.
And even myself, I still need to work on that, Being able to have a conversation and not just take or give is a huge role into the main topic of being an asshole. Because if you're the guy who hogs a conversation and you don't let anyone talk, you're an asshole. If you're just there silent all the time, you're not necessarily an asshole, but you're not really doing much, and you're not really.
You're not going to get invited to the next party.
Exactly. Like relationships require participation, and that means having uncomfortable conversations with people.
Well, yeah, and then what I discovered was that, like, there were phases, right? My early life, I probably would have fit the description of Mr. Nice Guy or whatever, especially with like relationships and stuff. Because if you allow yourself to be walked over constantly by this person, you never, ever, ever seek conflict or actually stand up for yourself. They learn that behavior is okay. Yeah. And then if you're a complete people pleaser without ever putting your foot down, people take advantage of that. It's so easy to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Versus later, after I went through some shit, then I was more in observation mode. Like, I wasn't like seeking out conflict, but I was not just agreeing. I was just staying silent. And now I'll say something. If something needs to be said, I'll say it.
Yeah.
And I'll say it as best I can, because I still don't like conflict. I was raised with like conflict, no, never. Just bury it down.
I get it.
But now, like, I kind of like it. Like a little bit. Well, when there's a situation like in my mind, because I've analyzed it so long from that position of during the transition where I was like okay with it, but not saying anything, but just being like open to different views and just trying to like guard myself and just be there, but still be part of the crew or whatever.
Yeah.
Now that I'm there, before I say something that I know is going to cause a conflict, I get just a little bit excited because I'm like
because you
I'm
know
like,
it's gonna fucking start some shit.
Oh, here it goes,
So-
you know, and you know, and that you know, morally, but at the same time, it's good because in the end, and I feel okay with it. I feel great about it.
What the fuck is that?
Is it that thing?
No, it's like picking up a truck outside. It's got to be a truck outside. I heard one pass earlier.
We are downtown right now.
No,
Well,
I
let's
mean,
pause
that's
that
fine.
thought for just a second because I was on a roll.
You were. And
Editor,
disrespectful, inconsiderate
Editing.
assholes is
these
starting up
assholes.
their mega giga truck and ruining
It's
this.
probably one of those Tesla trucks.
It is.
Probably.
If
It's
you-
probably one of
dude,
the
if you-
little Elon sycophants.
If you have a Cybertruck, you are an asshole. I don't care. You're an asshole if you have a Cybertruck.
I'm not gonna lie. The people, like, I am not an anti-Musk guy. I don't like him, but I'm also not like, you know, totally on the other side of things. But the people who drive Teslas around here
Okay,
are the
you don't need to lean. That's turned up from when there was two of you.
Okay, well,
You're good.
Either way, I will say this from my respectful distance from the mic.
Absolutely.
The people who drive Teslas around here are the worst drivers, bar none.
Yeah.
Don't they drive themselves?
They
Well, they need some more work if that's the case.
No,
That's
so-
Tesla's fault.
So here's the thing that I
Holy
learned about
shit,
Teslas
they're bad drivers.
is
They
apparently-
literally drive themselves. Like
Well,
the car drives.
you're
for
right.
Well,
them.
they
So
need
the-
to take that one to the drawing board because I'm about to die three times
so-
going to work.
So here's the thing that
One of
I
those
learned about
people.
Teslas, and I learned this from a friend of mine who has a Tesla, like one of the self-driving ones. It monitors how you drive and your behaviors, and it will mimic them. So it is
So
still
if you're an asshole on the road, it'll make
your
you
Tesla.
even worse.
Your Tesla will improve your
Not a
asshole
good idea.
tendency.
Not a good idea.
So, anyways, I don't even hate Teslas. I just think that if you have a Cybertruck, you're an asshole. End of statement. Not all Teslas, just
right.
the Cybertruck.
Well, okay, to get back on
Whoa,
topic.
yeah.
And now
Let's-
that the craziness has ended, what was I saying? I was wrapping
were-
up the thought on the transition.
you were
from
saying that
Mr. Nice Guy to
when conflict arises, you don't actively seek it out, but you know when it's like just about to happen, you're like,
Oh yeah. And
And by the way, not
I
to
get a little
change the
excited.
subject, but can you pass
Oh, yeah.
the
Of
Elijah Craig
course.
over here? Oh, thank you. Little Alky's got to get his
Oh
groove
yeah.
on.
You gotta get it all set.
No, I was going to
But-
say, go ahead.
But mainly what I was saying was when you have the confidence, and confidence is important, because that was a big part of why I would shy away from conflict, because I didn't feel like my voice mattered, so I didn't bother telling people what I had to say. And I didn't it's not worth it. I'm not going to change their mind, so why? And then once that friend told me, like, bro, you're being dishonest. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, kind of. If I actively engage in the conversation, and that he made a great point, like, it's worth it. Even if people disagree, even if it's an unpopular opinion, actually being part of the conversation, especially if you have the confidence to do so, makes a big difference, and I feel way better.
Well, as one of our good friends, Trevor Scheller, would say, confidence is currency.
yeah. Well, and
You know,
on top of
it
that
is
too, though.
a thing where you can get into.
Yeah, but on top of that too, it's like I think just staying silent and kind of festering. I think that is almost like the
It's
starting
bad.
point of becoming an asshole yourself.
Yes.
because if you just stay quiet and you just let it build, and you get resentful of the other people, that's how you learn this behavior. That, you know, the only way I'm going to ever get anything said in this world is if I just make a big brash movement.
Yeah.
and you make a fool of yourself, but you also damage relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're so
Well, I
angry
mean,
and you're so fed up with it that it comes out.
Look at Andrew Tate. He's a great example. Andrew Tate, some of the stuff that he says has merit, but half of the stuff that he says is dressed up in this hyperbole because nobody will listen to the 50% that makes sense, so he has to dress it up with this just ridiculous nonsense that in turn turns him into a almost like cartoon character of like a misogynist or whatever. And that's like the whole thing is like he's somebody, I think personally, who he's got some stuff to say, but he can't say it because the only way he's going to be heard is by exaggerating it to 100. Like,
now,
do you mind if we
and I thought the exact opposite, because I thought the only thing that gives any of his insane things to say merit was like the tiny little nugget of common sense knowledge he drops at the beginning. Because if you watch, he'll say something. He'll say something super legit, super legit that everyone's just like, well, yeah, or that's a great point, and then he'll say a bunch of bullshit. And you're like,
but my thing was like nobody would listen to him if he wasn't just spouting this insane nonsense.
You think so?
No, I know so. Because like that's how these things work. Like that's how the media works. Is the media will always glom on to the most sensational, out there, crazy stuff.
That's
because
true.
If Andrew Tate went out there and just said something,
that's why we have 5 listeners.
I know. Well, it is what it is. But the point is, if Andrew Tate went out there and just said something that everybody could kind of agree on, right? Everybody would be like, okay, well, whatever, yeah, he's speaking the truth, but they wouldn't talk about it. But when he goes out there and says something that's true, and then he also says, all women are whores, or something like that, people are going to listen because they're just like, he just said all women are whores. That's insane. Well, why do you say that? And they get their panties in a wad. And, like, that's the game he plays.
So you think that...
Are you saying that all the whores get their panties in a wad?
Sorry. Maybe.
So I'm curious because I feel like I have like the opposite opinion as you. You think that he says the extreme off the wall bullshit things just to get attention on the 1 or 2 good things he says?
No, I don't, because I think ultimately he's a grifter and he'll say whatever he needs to make money.
Get attention, right?
Yeah, no. Like
to me, I feel like he says the legitimate things in order to get a couple of like the actual like thinkers in that would just dismiss him anyway.
Well, and
because then he can point at the good thing and be like, no, I said
well,
I said a good thing.
That's a fair argument. And I think we like agree ultimately that the whole point of his entire thing is that he is like bringing people in with a salient point, and then he does the hyperbole afterwards.
Right.
Whether or not his intention is like one or the other, whichever way it does it, that's the end goal.
Right.
And it is something that it just blows my mind because you can, again, the Aristotle quote. You can, like, he said stuff that I agree with. And I'm like, okay, I agree with that. And then he'll say something that's totally, like, out of left field. And I'm like, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that I'm like, we've gotten to the point in the society where it's like you have to pick one team or another. And that's dangerous. Where you should be able to say, this person's saying a good thing, but the rest of what they're saying is bullshit. I agree with this. They're right on this.
Yeah.
But we need to also not devolve into these cult-like followings where you get into camps because that's when people tend to die.
Yeah.
Or get killed, I should say.
Yeah. So first of all, though, Andrew Tate, if you want to come onto the podcast, we'd be open to it.
Do not.
I'm not going to be on the podcast.
No,
okay.
I would, but
like,
that's
it's all right. Like, I know that we talk shit a little bit, but if you want to come on and defend yourself, feel free.
Dude, I would.
It's an open invitation because we here at TBD Talks, we like to have conversations.
No, I would absolutely love to sit down with Andrew Tate. Not because I agree with him, but because it's that whole thing of like, I would love to hear what he has to say.
Well, I think it'd be great. We would objectively, we would talk to you.
Objectively,
and see what you have to
just
say.
Objectively,
just if you want to
platform.
defend your views and stuff, just like come and tell us about your psychology because this open invitation. I mean, we have at least 4 listeners.
I love you, listener 3. You're the best.
We all love you.
It would be great.
It's all.
Not Andrew Tate. Listener 3. I'm talking to you. You're the best.
Listener
we
3.
love you.
Who the hell is listener 3?
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
It doesn't show us.
Is that your mom?
Just
Maybe.
probably.
I mean, hey, that's cool.
Might be my mom.
Might be Dan. Dan posted the last podcast in the chat. He was like, roast these motherfuckers. And I was like, So you know Dan's watching this shit.
Yeah.
Dan, if you're listener 3, you know what I mean.
Dan, if you're listening to 3, we had a great conversation tonight.
It was great.
Enjoyed it.
It was
Call
great.
me again.
You missed it.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's all right.
No, I wanted to say, though, like, have you ever seen the movie Zelig? It's a Woody Allen movie. That's the one we need to watch with Dan.
Okay.
Because you can think whatever you want about Woody Allen. I get it. He's kind of a creep. I mean, whatever. It's not as bad as, like, Roman, what's his name? Roman Polanski. So Woody Allen got involved with, like, his stepdaughter, right? But they've also been married for, like, over 30 years. Something must have happened. Like, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, like...
He married his stepdaughter?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fucking weird. I mean,
It's
it
really
is weird. I don't recommend it, but at the same time, like...
0 out of 10 would not recommend.
No, and but the whole thing about him is, like, Woody Allen, whether you like him, hate him, whatever, if we're going to separate the art from the artist, which I usually recommend, he's a phenomenal director.
He's
and
a good
an
actor.
Amazing actor.
Yeah.
And Zelig is one of his best movies because Zelig is about a guy in 1920s New York, Hollywood. I suppose I should. The
Nice.
1920s, like New York, Hollywood. Like there was a big overlap at the time, right?
Before LA was in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was like when LA was coming up. But the
Right.
whole thing about Zelig is like he'll go to these parties and like his whole thing is like he is able to mimic the people around him. So there is no Zelig outside of like whoever he's interacting with at the moment. Like if somebody basically told him like something terrible that he's not a person. He's a reflection of what other people are telling him. So that's how he gets popular in these circles, is because he'll walk into one room where there's communists and they'll be saying this. He's like, oh, I agree, and all this stuff. Mark said this and blah, 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 this, that, and the third. And they'll be like, yes, Zelig, like, you're great. And then he'll go in the next room and they'll be like, those fucking communists. And
Well,
he'll be
and
like,
and there are people.
fuck those communists. And like, he does
Yeah.
it so convincingly that he moves up through the ranks. The problem is that ultimately, by the end of the movie, he's so agreeable that his ex-wife finds him in Nazi Germany, working at the fucking concentration camps.
Did you
because
spoil
he's
the
so
movie
agreeable
for me?
What?
You spoil the movie for me?
Dude, this movie is like
Dude.
70 years old at this point.
okay.
Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty upset about that.
Well, there are people like that though. Like,
No, but that's the
and
whole
that-
thing
And that's
is,
the
like-
thing is like.
And Woody Allen is Jewish. I mean, he's making a
Right.
statement on agreeability. And
Right.
like how far that will take you is that Zelig is a Jew, and yet somehow at the end of the movie he ends up working for the Nazis
Right.
because he's just so agreeable.
Well, and I know like you're all gonna make fun of me right now.
You're so hilarious.
Here
I
it
can't believe you
goes.
say that.
What are you saying,
I'm about
Travis?
to say the thing. I'm about to say the thing. Astrology shit. People say that
Space racism, you mean?
Space racism.
Yeah. Well, people say Gemini, which I am.
Oh, motherfucker, we can't be
We can't be
friends.
friends.
Sorry.
Ah, shit.
Sorry. We're just not
Well,
gonna work
they
out.
say that they're more chameleon and that they match people's energies,
Oh,
which
son of a bitch.
which I've straight up done my entire life. Like if a person comes in and is that way, like it's not.
So what you're telling me is
I don't have to struggle to actually connect with them.
So what you're telling me is that
At
our
that level?
entire relationship is bullshit, and you built it off of nonsense because you're a Gemini and you've been lying to me.
That's what I heard. That's precisely what I heard.
You come in sad, I'm just like, oh, here. I feel sad too.
Because I'm a
how can I
Gemini.
talk to you about it?
You're
I'm a Gemini.
You're like fucking Michael Jackson at the end of the Thriller, where he's like bringing the girl away and he turns around and got like the demon eyes or whatever. Yeah, that's you. That's you.
I knew it.
I'm not telling you shit from now on.
The main thing I was saying though is it's weird because like certain people, like I felt that my entire life that whatever a person was saying to me, their feeling, their vibe, I tended to shift to that, which is why it made it so easy to just be silent and just agreeable the fucking time.
I get it.
Like it felt so natural.
So we can
Because you're a Gemini.
naturally make the jump that if you're an agreeable person, you're a
Gemini.
Nazi.
Well,
Based on
I wasn't going to go that far, but maybe.
Sorry,
Geminis,
Too much.
Nazis. I think we're making some connections here.
I think we are. Sorry,
Yeah, we'll have to research
that. We're gonna leave the conspiracy corner.
When was Hitler born? I need to know this right now. Actually, I know it's
April
420
20th.
because it's my birthday. Is that Gemini? Is that? I'm
All right,
looking it
it's
up.
not.
I'm looking it
You're
up.
looking it up? I got the
It's
tablet
not.
here.
It's Aries.
Oh.
Oh, you motherfucker over here knows.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I don't actually.
Damn
know.
it! He was.
Was that right?
He was according to Google, he was a Taurus with a Libra rising. I have no fucking clue.
Could
what
you
that
imagine?
means.
Could you imagine if Hitler was like an astrology person? Was like super into like, I can't have you on my cabinet because you're an Aquarius.
Yeah, that's why Rommel. They made it Rommel kill himself.
It would have made
It was
the
like,
it
you are a
would've-
Sagittarius. You are out of the cabinet.
It would have made the camps way different. if
That would
it
have been
was
hilarious.
Yeah,
He's
the
like,
cabinet. Everyone who is a Scorpio, Pisces, Aquarius, go here. Everyone who is an Aries, Leo, and Libra, go here.
And that's where the podcast got a little too.
Look, I'm just saying, like, what gets me about it, though, is like, so you're a Gemini. Yes? You just
Yes.
said that.
Yes.
You just admitted. You just admitted that. I am a Scorpio. November baby.
Is Travis on trial right now for being
No,
a Gemini?
we're not on trial. We're just talking candidly about astrology, which, like he says, astronomy or astrological racism.
Yes.
No, but the crazy thing is like I'm a Scorpio, and I hit every mark where they're impulsive, passionate. Like it's funny,
Passionate.
dude. When you go through like all the list of like the different astrological signs,
you are very passionate. by
Oh,
the way.
I know.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Nick,
I know.
what's your
I've had to
sign?
Live with it.
Nick, what's your sign?
We still in Gemini. Why?
You're a
Hey!
Gemini.
Oh, another Gemini!
We're being
another
outnumbered.
Two Geminis.
We're getting overpowered here, Nathan. We gotta fight back.
Yeah. Oh shit.
But my whole thing is like, it's funny because you go down the list, and this is what I always took away from being Scorpios. They're like, you're passionate and kind. You're kind and you're whatever, and like, you know, you're thoughtful, you're sensitive. And then you get to Scorpio, and they're like, you're a manipulative motherfucker. You hate people. You want to kill people who wronged you.
Oh,
and
dude.
like, I'm not gonna say it's wrong, but at the same time, I was like, why is it the Scorpio gets like all this shit that's like not bad, but like could be bad, like, you know, that prime. It's like a scorpion, you know, like the actual like thing. It's a scorpion. It won't hurt you, but it's primed to hurt you. That little tail is drawn back, and motherfucker, you hurt him.
All I'm
and
saying-
it is like you made an enemy for life.
All I'm saying is I've owned scorpions and they were really chill. We're not.
We're not.
All right.
We're not.
Shall we wrap it up then?
No, we're having a good conversation. We're getting really deep in the weeds here.
Yeah,
why
we're
would we
on
wrap
to,
it up now.
On to astrology.
Dude, this is getting good. Nathan, what are you?
An Aries.
Aries.
I don't know. I don't know what that means. But okay.
Aries, I hate to say it, Nathan, but we can never date.
Joke's on you. I know my wife is a Scorpio and we're married.
Oh,
So get fucked, loser.
son of a bitch!
Disproves the whole
said
thing.
that. I just said that. I have no idea what signs are compatible with Scorpios, but I do know that the girl I dated for the longest time was a Leo. And when I looked that up after we broke up, I was like, they were like Leos are not compatible with Scorpios. And I was like, God bless them. Fuck.
That's the most southern thing you've ever said to me.
God bless them.
God bless it.
Blessed.
God bless
That's what I
it.
always say. That and bless your heart.
Can you give us some more southern statements? Real quick.
This is not a southern one, but it's one that I really enjoy.
Just rapid fire them. Just like say like 5 southern things.
He's slower than molasses running uphill in January.
good.
All right. Okay.
Next.
This is an Irish one, and I stole it.
No
No.
context.
Oh,
just
no.
just
Fuck.
rapid fire them.
He's thicker than pig shit and half as useful.
Nice.
All right. Okay.
Next.
I'm trying to think because my family's Southern, but they don't, you know.
No, just
They
like
didn't hate me, so they didn't
phrases.
say these
They
terms.
didn't hate me. Wow.
Well, no, these are the things, like, you reserve these sayings for people you really don't like. Like, in the South, When you're in like
Well,
Alabama,
are there any good Southern statements?
no. When you're in the South,
That's good to know.
there are a million statements for people you don't like, and the number one is like, you could say the most hateful thing about somebody, just totally rip their ass
Bless
apart.
their heart.
Yeah, and then you just put bless their heart, and like that just validates everything. It clears you of sin.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I could say, Nathan, motherfucker, you are a duplicitous little garden snake, and you bite me on my heel every time I go out. But bless his heart, he means well. And like, that would validate every ounce of vitriol.
No need
on
for
that
confession. You're set.
Dude.
Wait. I can bring this back for a second here to the main topic.
Are we going back
Hold
to the
on.
main topic?
I'm trying. We're gonna try. So like,
Let's see.
I think that covers the part of this where they go past the Southerners have managed to take this thing and go and get rid of what they've done is they mastered delivery
And the cop out.
and the cop out. They'll say the most crazy shit to you and be say wretched things about another human being.
Wretched.
Things.
Wretched.
Yeah, but then they'll just be like, "But I said it in a nice Southern accent."
Bless their heart.
No, here's the thing: is a friend of mine in Seattle actually said this, and I have never agreed with anything more in my life because I've been to the East Coast, I've been to the West Coast, I've been to Boston, I've been to Seattle, spent a lot of time in Boston, and the thing is, the difference between the East and the West Coast is that if your car breaks down in Seattle, somebody will pull over and they'll be like, "Oh man, that sucks. I'm sorry for you, bro. Well, I hope somebody helps you." And they'll drive off. If your car breaks down in Boston, some guy will get out and he'll be like, "You stupid motherfucker. Why did you not put that tie on?" But then he'll say like, "I'll tell you what, I'll put your spare on, but don't do this again." And they'll actually fix your car. They'll be mean about it, but they'll fix your car. And that's what my friend said. She was like, the West Coast is kind, but not nice. And the East Coast is nice, but they're not kind. Yeah. And that is
Interesting.
absolutely
100%.
fucking true.
100%.
That's fascinating.
But even then, I think that the Southeast is like its own thing because like they're not nice, but they'll say it.
But they're
nice,
kind.
Yeah.
But they're kind. Like,
Yeah.
no, that's the thing. And like in my experience, the Southern people are like people in the South, the American South, and I'm not just saying this because I'm biased because A, I'm from there, B, my heritage is there. They're the nicest
Isn't that the
fucking
same
people on
thing?
planet Earth. Like my granddad, one of the most
Bless his heart.
bless his
Bless
heart,
his heart.
one of the most racist motherfuckers you'll ever meet. Right?
See, it worked.
But at the same time, he would bring in people of all colors to work on his farm. And when one of them got into trouble with the law, and this is the whole story, I'm not going to get into it, but basically, my granddad went out there, and if you had known him when I was a kid, you would never believe he would do this. And of course, he's kind of changed over the years.
You got a little more racist.
Well, no, he got
Little
less
less.
racist.
Oh,
Because I feel like that's what happens when you get older is you kind of realize, we're all God's children. Either way, he does he does prison ministry. He does all this sort he does all sorts of stuff for underprivileged kids in his area. And he brought this kid came to him and he was like, "Man, I got into a bad situation." Like he used his one phone call in jail to call my granddad and tell him because he was the only person he trusted. And he was like, "I'm in jail. I need your help. Come see me." So my granddad drove out there, and this poor fucking kid was accessory to murder because his friend, as he said, went to this guy's house, went in, shot him, came out, got in the car, and they drove away. So that makes him accessory to murder. And he swears up and down he had no idea what was going on. He calls my granddad, his one call in jail. My granddad comes out there, pays his bail, and he gives him $1,000 in cash and says, "I cannot help you more than this, but get the fuck out of here." And the guy is doing well today. He's
Wow.
beat the rap and
Nice.
everything. And he lives in a totally different spot in the South. But that's the kind of guy, like my granddad is a living example of like somebody who can be just viciously racist, but also like change their opinions over time and come around to actually be like, somebody who's like, well, maybe they aren't subhumans. which is what we should all say.
I mean, I was like, that's quite a statement. I hope that's the
Well,
regular
no, I mean, like
statement for most people.
he's really changed. Like, I mean, my mom, she had nothing good to say about him when I was growing up, but as she's gotten older, like, you know, he's really changed himself.
Well, and bottom line, like, people can change.
People can change, and you have to give them the opportunity to change.
Hold on.
That's a huge.
There's a great TV clip that Travis and I both know. It's from a TV show called I Think You Should Leave. Okay. No. Hold on.
I love wine.
Not where I'm going with this. There's this clip where the whole
just
thing.
joking.
There's this whole clip where this dude's like, I used to be an asshole. and he goes to hold this woman's newborn child, and the child starts to cry. And he's like, oh, I didn't know your baby could tell I used to be an asshole. And there's this whole clip. It's very funny. And finally, the grandfather's like, let him hold the baby. Let him hold the baby. Because you know what? People can change.
Look, I'll just say this. There's also a guy up here. I'm not going to name names, but there's a guy up here that we all associate with, that we all know. And he told me he used to be the worst person on planet Earth. He was a little terror, right? And when he told me the stuff that he used to do, I was like, there's no way. You're the nicest guy on planet Earth. I cannot think of anybody that I actually think more highly of than you. And he was like, no. And the whole thing is like, he had that epiphany because somebody came up to him and told them what I said at the beginning, which is, if you meet one guy and he's an asshole, you're probably an asshole. If you meet 12 people in a day and they're all assholes, you're probably the asshole. And that made him think, and he was like, oh my God, I am an asshole. I know you know who I'm thinking about.
I think I do. I'm pretty sure.
Probably do. I'm not going to name names on here. But the whole thing is like...
Does he currently live down in southern Idaho?
No. He lives up here. He plays D&D with us.
Oh, shit. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And like the thing is, I would never guess. I would never guess that he was a shithead.
Yeah.
You know, but he will cop to it and he will admit to it. And he is a wonderful person. And
100%.
I genuinely enjoy hanging out with him. And I'm just like, I cannot believe that you were ever that person.
Yeah.
And he'll tell you he was. And that was the quote that changed his life.
Yeah. No, it really kind of blows my mind seeing some people change, whether that's in a short span of time or, you know, over the course of a lifetime. Like, you know, you and I, Travis, have been friends for years now. Not as long as some of the other people I know, but I've seen, like you said, I've seen you change from someone who's just like, I'm going to just sit here and take it and just whatever, no matter what I think, to someone who's like, yeah, you're willing to speak your mind and be a presence in the room. And I don't mean that as an insult. I really don't. I think I kind of worded that poorly. But you've become a more genuine version of yourself. And seeing that in people, I think is like, as kind of, you know, corny as it is to say, it's those kinds of things that restore faith in humanity. That people can change. That people can go from like horrendous, like horrible people that I would never associate with to respectable, incredible people that are, I'm happy to say, are my friends.
No, I agree. I mean, like, this guy was a thief. Like, literally a thief. Like I said, I'm not going to name a name.
Yeah, no, you know.
But it's one of those things where it's like, and people can change.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's important to keep in mind the line.
Yeah.
The line where you cross over into an asshole. Because some people have the fear of being an asshole, and they won't be honest, and they won't stand up for themselves, and they won't actually be confident enough to insist on the best for themselves. And that's something that, like, I've gone through a pretty aggressive evolution in my own regard. And I think that
Typical Gemini bullshit.
I know, right? I was just happy, just chilling out, just mimicking other people's behaviors and just being chill. But in
Being
reality,
a snake
though,
in the grass.
you have to decide, like, if you're willing to actually have the confidence to stand up for yourself, to actually make yourself heard, to actually stand out and insist on actually having a voice.
No, and your true friends will always, like your true friends, you will know when the rubber meets the road. When they will say, because Travis, you and me disagree on a lot of things, but we're still friends. And that reason is because we can both say, we'll agree to disagree.
Yeah.
That's
And
perfectly fine.
those are the types of friends you should surround yourself with.
Yes,
because you
yeah.
have to, it's a litmus test. It's so important to actually say what you think so you can be comfortable around
Because,
the people
I mean,
that you're around.
One of the things that I learned during my trials and tribulations and the romance
The
market,
tribulations.
and the tribulations is that if you meet a girl and you're trying to like impress her by saying the right political things, it'll come back to bite you in the ass. You might as well just be honest up front, because like if you don't agree with them, it's not like, and they're willing to cut you off for that, you're better off without them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with friends. Same thing with friends. If your friends disagree with you to that point that they would cut you out, you didn't need them there anyways.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, I think it's time we wrap it up.
Yeah.
yeah, we've had a good conversation.
Yeah, this is good. This is good. Thank you, everyone, for watching the TBD Talks podcast.
Except for the Geminis, I want to say this real quick.
Oh,
The
shit.
Geminis,
Here it
you're
goes.
two-faced,
He's ruining my
duplicitous
edit.
snakes.
I'm trying to finish this episode, and now I have to decide if I'm going to cut this out or if I'm going to leave it in. No.
Okay.
It's time to wrap it
Anyways.
up. Wrap it up. Nathan,
Thank
finish
you.
it.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for coming to another episode of TBD Talks. We'll see you guys in the next episode, and we look forward to more conversations and what you have to say.
Yes, it's been lovely.
It has
I
been.
genuinely mean that. It's been lovely.
Bye.
And I love.